Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Lager Counseling Services. I have an incredibly special guest on today. It is Emily Frisella, and I'm going to read for you her formal introduction, but then what I would really like you to hear is my little 2-minute explanation of the reason why I had her on this show and what you're going to get out of it. Emily is a business coach and speaker. She's a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She started her first brick and mortar business at the age of 20 years old. She's a founder of the Paper and Plan Company, and I happen to have all of her little items here that are just incredible. The way that she delivers these items it's just, you feel so special when you receive her products. She's an author of 3 amazing best-selling books: The Fresh Farmhouse Kitchen, The Saint's Plate, and The Sinner's Dinner. She's the founder of Women in Business Workshop, which I have the honor of attending in just a couple of days. She's a COO of 24/7 Media, the COO of Arate Syndicate. That's dear to my heart because I'm a member of this great group for 3 years now. She's a co-host of Curious Me podcast, and she's a co-founder of Freedom Reads Books. But for me, what I would like to share with you is the number one reason that I have had, I asked Emily to be on the show. Believe me, I was nervous to ask her because she's so accomplished and she has a lot on her plate. And I didn't know if she would feel, pressured, to be on my podcast. But I am so grateful that she decided that she would do that. The reason that I asked Emily to come on is because I stumbled onto a podcast where I heard her just being super authentic and sharing things about her struggles, as an entrepreneur and with finances. And then when you look at Emily and you see the way she is and you see the way she presents herself, and she's just physically beautiful, but you can see that she's intelligent and she's accomplished and she's really, really had some incredible success in her life. But when I saw her post about not wanting to wear shorts as a younger person and not having any confidence and really saying, like, unless you've had no confidence, there is no way you would understand it. Well, I'm a person who didn't have confidence, and I do understand that. And that is my primary reason for having her on, is I really want her to be able to share how she came out of these things and how she's been able to take her chutzpah and create the things that she's created. And her message is really incredible because she talks about relationally, about how she puts relationships first. Her core values are the thing that leads the way to all that she does. So I really am so grateful to have her. And I just want to thank her so much for being here. We're here. Hey, guys. It is Alison from Alison Answers, and I have a very, very special guest today, and I'm really, really excited to have her. And as you heard with her extensive bio that I really needed a teleprompter for, but didn't have one, Emily was gracious enough to come on to this podcast. I asked her to be on, and she just said yes, which I was so surprised, actually. Like, why the hell is she coming on my podcast? But it's because she's such a good soul. And what I just want to say before we really dive in is the reason that I really wanted Emily is because I happened to stumble across a podcast that she was on, and she was just really authentic. She was sharing about her childhood, and she was talking about her parents, and she was sharing about struggles she had and mistakes that she had made. And it really, really hit me and it resonated with me and I couldn't stop listening. And then I had seen another thing with you, Emily, like a post that you had where you talked about feeling like your whole life, like younger life, that you didn't feel comfortable wearing shorts. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I read that, I like, she's my person. She's my best friend now, because my struggle for life has been, oh my God, all I want, God, is to be able to wear shorts. And today I can wear shorts.
I love that.
I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't. So when I saw that in you, my reason for bringing those two things up is that I feel like a lot of the people who listen here, you know, I have counseling centers or whatever. I feel like a lot of what they're doing is they're looking at people who are doing really well. Mm-hmm. And then they're measuring and they're looking at all the reasons why, how they're not that. And I feel like what you present as this, like, you know, and I'm not blowing wind up your skirt, but I just have to say, isn't that a good phrase? I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I love it.
This is a good one, right? But I just really, when, you know, if you look at Emily, she's like physically beautiful. She's physically fit. She's accomplished. She's successful in so many areas. And then I'm like, and then she writes cookbooks. Like, what the fudge? Like, and she like knows how to, like, I don't know, flowers and garden and all this stuff. And she's like America's sweetheart. And then you're like, well, here I am, this schlep who can't get my act together at all.
Oh my gosh, stop.
So, no, I'm kind of just saying, like, I just feel like I want you to hear her because she has so much authenticity and greatness to offer us. So put on your seatbelts and just let's go. So Emily,
I have a lot to live up to now with that intro.
I have a lot to say. Sorry.
I'm excited to be here, but thank you. Yes. Seriously, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and really pumped for the conversation because we've met each other several times, but we've never got to really connect and really chat because it's always at like events and things like that where we're always kind of like chit chat and then it's like we're in crossing paths going to the next thing or something. So I'm really looking forward to this interview.
That's to me like the biggest like thing for me was just to be able to sit with you and talk, because I feel like you're just an incredible person. And I'm not, again, it's not a wind thing. I mean, I really genuinely mean it. And like your attention to detail and organization and the way you put things together is just incredible to me. And I want to learn from you and just know you. But anyhow, back to what I want to just discuss. I would love to know how you got from, I read in your book about not having any confidence at all. And, you know, and then you said, like, if you haven't felt this, it would be really hard to understand. And I have felt that. So I just would love to know how you got from there and you just continued to move to where you are today. So, yeah.
So with that, I think, through confidence comes through consistency, right? It's doing things over and over again. And that's what builds your confidence. Well, when I was younger, I was the most shy child you could ever imagine. Like my mom tells me I would like hide behind the corner or like peek around the corner and look in at the room of like even my cousins just playing because I was just too shy to even play with them. I wasn't outgoing. I was very much so an introvert. And then what I think where it really started to happen is in high school, I had a teacher that I speak about in my book. His name was Mr. Inky. And he kind of pulled me aside and said, like, you know, you've got these leadership qualities, and he was complimentary in the fact of, you know, basically in short, hey, step up, you've got this in you to do it. Yeah. And so it got me into, and just honestly hearing that, because I think we can all agree, like my parents have always been so encouraging and always uplifting and, you know, positive with me, but hearing things from your parents doesn't resonate with you as with someone else. Like it's your mom could tell you the sky's blue. You're not going to believe her because she's your mom, but your cool aunt tells you and you're like, oh, aunt such and such says the sky's blue. And then it's like a whole new revelation. Well, that's what I had with this teacher. And I got into public speaking and doing knowledge events and things like that. In the organization was FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. It's if you live in a small town, you probably know what that is. And I saw that I was able to do this and I started speaking with small crowds and then, doing some debates and then slowly working up to larger and larger crowds. And I don't talk about this in the book, but I think really what happened, what really made me realize that, hey, nothing is too bad that it's going to ruin you, is because when I was in high school, I was 17 and I was speaking at a national convention, and there were 60,000 people there, and I was on stage. And the stage, if you've ever spoke on a stage, anyone listening to this, is it's almost like, imagine like folding tables all stuck together, and that's what a stage is basically created. Well, let's say these folding tables weren't exactly butted up against each other, and there was like a little crack in it. And I walked the stage, and the lights were so bright, I couldn't really see out at the crowd too much. And I also did not look down at the stage. And my high heel went into the crack, and I almost like stumbled out of my shoe. I didn't fall down, but I stumbled on stage in front of all these people. And still to this day, that's the biggest group I've ever spoke to. And I was like, oh, and I go, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, that's all that came out of my mouth. Cause I'm like, everybody knows, obviously I didn't mean to do that. Everybody probably has secondhand embarrassment for me that happened, but I just said, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. And then I just put my shoe back on, made a joke about it, and I kept going. And I realized at that moment, I was like, I've got this. And the thing that I felt that really made me realize that it is okay is that, you know how when you mess up, sometimes you tend to overthink it and you replay it in your head and you get distracted. I didn't do that. I literally just picked the shoe up, put it on, and kept going. And I think that at that point, I was like, I didn't even think twice about it again. And I look back on that, I was like, well, the only thing I am grateful for is that YouTube wasn't around then, because I would have been all over YouTube probably with that.
For sure.
But yeah. And then the more that I started to do things and take chances on myself, the more, quote, successes I found. I don't mean financial success. I mean internal, emotional, mental wins for me. And that was success for me. And so I kept doing that and pushing the envelope. And I realized that there isn't anything so bad that I can't work a way out of. And I am going to mess up a lot. But with every mess up, I truly am learning a lesson. You always hear that, right? Like, oh, it's not a failure if you learn from it. Well, I have learned from a lot of failures. So that's where, and and now it's like, I feel, and I don't mean this in a braggadocious way, but I feel unstoppable. Like, I'm like, you know what? The worst thing somebody can do to me is tell me no, tell me they hate me, or tell me they don't like me, whatever. I don't care. It's not going to change who I am. And that's come from years and years of trying to always improve and just feeling certain in myself. And I mean, I'm a woman. Of course, I'm going to have those days where like, I feel fat, I feel gross, I feel this, I feel that. And you're going to feel, like your self-esteem is low. And there are dips in confidence and things like that. But it's more about what is your averages? What's your weekly average, right? Like, you know what I mean? That's what matters.
Yeah. What would you say to a young girl? We have a lot, we do work with eating disorders and everything. What would you say to a young girl, like a teenager or girl in her 20s? It doesn't even matter. It could be anybody, like about how to get over that physical perception, that constant comparison.
Yeah.
Right.
It is because I have also I was a chunky kid, and I was, that's where the whole thing about me not wanting to wear shorts, because I was teased because I was an athlete and I had big thighs and a big butt. And I was teased that like, oh, thunder thighs. And I had boyfriends tell me that I would look better if my legs were skinnier and they weren't so big. And that's where, and I mean, I just started, okay, I'm 40 years old. This happened to me when I was like in my 15 through 17. And I just started wearing shorts about 3 years ago. That's how long that stuck with me. So I wish I had some miracle, like just do this and it'll be better. But it's constantly working on yourself to build that confidence and realize what these people say is a reflection of them and their insecurities. Because truly, if someone tells you something that is actually not helpful or something that is out of your control, they're not a friend. That's why I always get aggravated. People say, oh, well, for goodness, let's say it's like, oh, I read that someone didn't like this about you. Why are you telling me this? Because you should just handle that if you're my friend, or you should take up for me, or don't tell me, because there's nothing I can do to change that. That's not being a good friend. Right. So I always look at it like that, is that person is unhappy with themselves. And if I would recommend all of everybody, actually all ages, read the 4 Agreements. That is the best book ever, because it really does showcase that what people say to you and how they treat you is a them problem, not a you problem. And I really do think that book is what really changed my perspective on that, and really shed a lot of light on that subject of knowing that, you know what, it's not me, it's them. They're unhappy with something going on in their life, that the only joy that they have is to say something negative about me or to pick on me. And that's honestly pathetic, and it makes you feel bad for those people. So for young women with, body issues or, maybe some dysmorphia, just realize something my mom taught me. And it's true. She said, when I was a teenager, I'd be like, Mom, I'm fat, or I'm this, I wish I could have this. She's like, one day you're going to look back and wish you were as fat as you were then as you are now. Like basically saying like,
Exactly.
those are going to be the good old
Mhm.
days. So trust me on this. And so I remember her saying that. She goes, yeah, she's like, Emmy, one day you're going to look back and wish you were as fat as you were then. And
Isn't it true? It's
yeah,
funny. I had the same exact experience when I was 10 with my thighs.
really.
And it was, yeah, a friend said, you have really big thighs. And I never forgot it. And
Yeah,
children are wet cement.
I know.
Like it
It's
just
true.
becomes an identity thing. I
Yeah.
really, so in terms of like how you manage like what other people think, I mean, you're in the public eye, you have, a lot happening, you've built these companies. Like how do you manage that on the harder days when you're feeling like a little, let's say, more vulnerable? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if that does happen to you. I know for me it does,
Yeah.
you know?
No, yeah. And you know what? I always say, in the book, as you know, I have a chapter called Don't Feed the Trolls. And the trolls are the people on the internet and again, I feel like I've trained myself to have this mindset. And I feel like it is truth is, you know what? I feel sorry for these people. I feel sorry that the only thing that they have going in their life is to go onto a free app, follow people, and then try to pick them apart in order to self-serve them with some sort of weird dopamine hit that they think that
Yeah.
they quote got you.
Yeah.
Like that's sad. It's
Mhm.
pathetic. And that also in a weird twisted way makes me feel like, you know what, Emily, keep doing what you're doing because, they're not liking it, which means it's a sensitive topic, which means more people need to hear that or
Yeah.
more people need to do that.
Mhm.
So truthfully, I just feel kind of sorry for them. I don't even really respond. Like I say, I say, okay, or like, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. And that's about it. And then they just kind of go off, they scramble away like roaches when you turn the light on because they're like, well, shit, we can't bother her. She's not going to fall into our little trap. So I just feel like I just kind of developed this mindset of, you know what, that's really sad. That's all you have to do in life.
Yeah. And I always think, and I think for myself too, or anyone, if we judge or if someone else is judging, it's really just we feel threatened somehow
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
afraid, or there's something off inside of us when we do that, or when they're doing, like, what is happening with them that they even feel it. But
Right.
don't you feel like as women, or I don't know why I keep classifying it as a woman thing, maybe because I'm a woman, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. You can
but
speak firsthand.
yeah, I can speak firsthand from being a woman. Public service announcement that
Yes.
I just feel like we have a propensity to worry about what other people think. And like when I look at you, I mentioned it before. It's like we have this tendency to, we think men are competitive, but I feel like women will be like competitive in the reverse. It's almost like if I either have to be better than you, which I can't be because you're too great. So I have to be less than you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that feeling, like, so then everything that you are, I can't be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, and I had a client say to me once, which I felt it in my heart, like it hurt when she said it, because I was trying to encourage her and like what she could do in her life. And she said, Alison, I'm not you. I
Yeah.
just like stopped. I was like, wow, what am I presenting here? What am
Yeah.
I showing?
Yeah, but
You
that's the
know?
best thing is that she's not you. She's her. And there's only one of those. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that people have to embrace. And what you say with, women, kind of like taking this all in and putting on them, it's like, women by nature, by their DNA, are more caretakers. We tend to care more and have more emotion in that regard where we want people to be happy. And I'm not saying people pleasers, but I'm saying is we like to be peacekeepers. So with that, I think that's why there is that weight on it with women. And as far as saying like, well, the people are either like quote above you or like below you, like you can't be equals. I don't think that's true because the thing is that we have to remember is we are highlighting on social media what our strengths are. No one's going to get on there and say, hey guys, I don't really know what I'm doing, but follow along for the journey type situation,
I think
So
I
it's
do that.
right. So it's more about, I speak to what I know, where let's say, Sally, that's not what she knows. So she thinks that quote, I'm better than her. Okay. Well, let's say I might be more experienced or have more wisdom in an area than her. but she may be able to speak on something I know nothing about. Therefore, I would see her as better than myself, when really she has more experience or more wisdom in that aspect of things. And that's why, with Women in Business Workshop that I have and everything else, it's like, that's where that unity needs to come together, because, I'm not this frou-frou woo-woo type girl. And the whole like women's empowerment, I think it's kind of like gone a little bit of a spiral, but really what it is it needs to be women supporting other women to realize, you know what, Alison, you're a link in my chain that I can't provide. So I need to work with you together. I can provide you with things that you're not, well educated on. So we can work together on that. Yes. So it's building these chains of having a solid community to have these women. And when you build that solid community and you realize these people are for you, not against you, that's when real things really start to happen. And again, that's with your confidence, because these women have your back. They're going to help you. And that's why I just encourage like these strong relationships with women that are like-minded, and they have to be truly like-minded and want the best for you. Because I think we've all dealt with someone in our life where if you gave me, Alison, let's say I was jealous of you and I didn't want you to succeed, but I was this like fake phony friend and you thought we were friends, and you'd say, Emily, I got these two options. There's this one or this one. If me not being a good person would tell you the worst option in hopes that you would fail, instead of actually the true great option for you to help you succeed. So it's really evaluating your relationships, auditing those, and building really strong circles around you, and cutting out the people that don't provide to the life that you're trying to build, or in the season of your life that you're in. And that doesn't have to be hey, F you, you're out of my life. It could be a gradual process. I had to do that. It was over a 4-year process of working certain people's out of my lives. And it wasn't like a conversation. It was just not responding to texts right away, or adding more distance, or maybe less lunches or dinners together, and like slowly kind of like weaning off of that, friendship.
Yeah, I really, really super agree with that. I think that's cool. And I think a lot of what you say in your book, you talk about, well, obviously relationships first, because that's the name of the book. And I have it right here, and I love it so much.
Thank you.
And so much about what it says in there is about these connections, but also I hear you talk about like your strength, and that your ability to be willing to disappoint or to say no, and I think those two things together, speaking the truth in love and kindness, but being you, right? This is such a great book. I'm so highly recommending it. I just want everybody to get it. But so like, how do you do both of those? Because I think that's another thing that I see here is just, the difficulty. It's taken me a long time. I can do it really well now, but say no. Yeah. How do you say no and still, maintain relationships, disappoint other people, fire people, Emily?
Yeah. So, saying no and disappointing people was one of the hardest things to learn to do, but it came through frustration and resentment of myself, for me always trying to help others and be there for others. And and to just kind of just support them in any way that I could. But it was coming at the cost of my peace, my growth, my personal development, my business, because, instead of me, getting my work done that day, I would put it on hold and go help someone else, and then be mad at myself that I didn't get it done. I would be, resentful, like, oh, I'm never doing this again, and blah, blah, blah. And then sure enough, I would do it again and help someone else. And, obviously I'm not saying don't help other people, but there is a thing where you being selfish, and taking care of what you need to do, is not selfish behavior. That's actually you're actually being a giver that way, because if you can fill your cup, I know that's a cliche term, but like, if you can fill your cup, you're able to help fill others as well, because then you're at a good place to provide for others, whether it be your knowledge, your wisdom, your finances, things like that. So learning to say no is a process. And what I did, this is so bad, but what I basically started to do when I first tried this is I was like, okay, every third or every second yes, the third will be a no matter what it was. Oh, so wow. I was like, so if you messaged me and said, hey, Emily, can you just, yep, I'll help you. Sally messages me, yep. Sarah messages me, no, I'm sorry, I'm already committed that day. And then I would do that cycle. And then I decided, and I was firm with it, no matter what, even if I wanted to do it, I wouldn't do it, just to try to keep in this habit. But then what I found, what really helped me then finally was I got to that. I started getting comfortable saying no with that. Then what I started doing is just realizing, like, when I first read it, like, if you said, hey, Emily, do you want to come speak at this event? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, for you, obviously I would, but I'm just saying, like, if you told me that and it wasn't like, I didn't feel excited about it. The minute I read about it, I would say, oh no, I'm sorry. I can't do it that day, but I appreciate you asking me. And that's how I would say it. I don't have to be like, no, I don't want to do this because that event sounds like it's going to suck. I don't say it like that. So I'm not rude. You can say that in kindness and grace. And, or I'll just say, I don't, or what I say now is, I don't think that really aligns with what I've got going on in my world right now. So I don't think I would be the best fit for you. And that's just, it's never hurt a relationship. No one's ever upset. They might be disappointed, but the thing is they understand that I'm looking out for me, for my best interest and theirs as well. Because if I don't feel passionate about what they want me to speak on or what they want me to do, I know I'm not going to do a good job, and that discredits me. And that doesn't make me feel good when I know, like, well, I can't really deliver on this in the way that capacity that I should. They could probably find someone else, or so on and so forth. So disappointment and saying no is a part of life. And once you start doing that, I promise your happiness will go up exponentially and you will be more successful in your endeavors because you are taking time for you and doing things that only light you up.
And isn't it, I love when people say no to me.
Yeah.
I really do.
I respect them.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like then I can trust their yes.
Mm-hmm.
When they say yes, they mean it. Yep. Like they're more like, and I think it's great. And I want to be better at that. I think I can be a little more abrupt sometimes, if people, they'll be like, you got a minute? I'm like, nope.
No, that's how I am. I'll be like, hey, or I have a girl that I always tease her because she will take 5 minutes to ask a 30-second question. I'll be like, come on, let's get to the point. I just tease her, like, gentle bullying is what I call it, but she knows it's all in love. I'm like, come on, let's go. And or the same thing like you, like, hey, do you have a second? Nope, I'm busy right now. I'll catch you tomorrow. And you said it perfectly, because it makes you trust their yeses then. Mm-hmm. And, you're in business, I'm in business. And there's this, there's this unfortunate aspect of business that at times you become a transactional relationship for people instead of an actual relationship where people want from you or they want something from you. And that's not a good feeling as a business owner where is this person actually going to be my friend, or are they going to pretend to be my friend for a while and then ask me for something? What is the deal? And I know that sounds, it's terrible to say that, but that is a very, very real reality. So if people tell me no, I do respect it even more because I'm like, they don't want anything from me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then it does make me trust them because they know, because they're not asking me for something or connections or contacts or anything like that. It's not it lets me know, okay, they're actually a friend for me. They're not just going to bend over backwards just because they need something from me in exchange.
Yeah. Isn't that just, I have found that's a really rough feeling to have, to not feel like you can trust who's with you.
Right.
That's why it's so important to have your circle, to have the right people in your life, I
think mine's more of a triangle. It's about 3 people.
My dog.
It used to be a circle, and then it slowly formed into a triangle. Pretty soon it'll just be like one line.
You and the mirror.
There you go.
You can trust her. I'm like that sometimes, Emily. I'm not kidding.
But that's the thing, though, is you have to preserve yourself. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's me. You know what I mean? It's it's one of those things where it's I know when shit hits the fan, it's going to be me standing there cleaning up the shit. And if everybody else, they're not necessarily going to be there. I mean, I do have a great handful of friends that I'm very, very close to that I know would be the heartbeat, but it's really just auditing your circle in all regards, because if you audit your circle, that's all you need to care about. Whatever people say or their chatter, it does not matter. Don't let it hinder your confidence.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think about, it sounds cliche, like you were saying before, but it's when people say, oh, I'm my best friend, but I really, really feel like if you can get to that point, sometimes if I'm stressed out or I'm in the mirror, I'm getting ready and I'm like, you got this, Allie, you're okay. I'll start to talk like I'm my best friend to myself. Yeah. Which is, it sounds a little kooky, but it's real. I mean, that's what I do because there's nobody there but me, and I hope I can show up for myself in that moment. because the
Yeah.
other bitch is like really bad. Like
Yeah.
you
No,
suck,
I did.
you're horrible, you look bad, everything,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. No, I do that in our gym. Like that's how when I work out, I'm like, I'll like pep talk myself and
You
like talk to
do.
myself in that regard. Like, and I just like hype everyone is their own best hype man.
You know what, right? Or bully, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's days like that too. I mean, I fall victim to that to myself as well. Like where you don't feel like you're like, good enough or why do people even listen to me? Why do people buy my products? Why do people shop with me? Why do they follow me? And then it's like, it's usually, when I have those moments, I think about what did I eat and what did I do the day before? I know that sounds crazy, but I'm like,
Not to me.
I didn't eat, if I ate bad or if I ate something, that's not off my diet. And when I say diet, I don't mean like a strict diet. I just mean like things out of the normal. Like, did that affect me? Or did I actually get enough movement in and steps in? And did I work out yesterday? Because fitness is a big part of my life, and not even for the like aesthetic, but for the actual mental clarity that it provides me with. And, there's days where it'll just be crazy with like events or something. And I won't get to work out for 4 days in a row or something. And I can feel it. Like my weight doesn't change. I don't look different, but I feel it internally that I'm not the same. And that's why I am so into health and fitness, is because I know that in order to do that, in order to be my own best friend and to deliver the way I want to and to be who I want to be, I need to have my health and fitness in line.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or if I'm hypercritical of myself or irritable, it is because I had sugar yesterday. Mm-hmm. It is because I didn't work out. And I will talk about that. And very often people think you're crazy, but yeah. I know it. I'm positive of it.
Absolutely.
And
I feel like it's something as we get older, it's like you become mm-hmm. more in tune with your body and you
speak for yourself, please. Speak for yourself, Emily. Thank you. Even though I'm older than you. Just kidding.
Okay, not that much though. Let's be real.
When you get older, but anyhow, I'm sorry. I want to read a quote of yours. Can I do that in your book?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes. Oh yeah, if it's in the book.
It's in the book. No. It's nothing like, oh, she told me secretly this, and now I'm going to tell you all this. No, this is just in her book. So, because I think it says, I have been in situations where life felt like too much. Shit was too heavy, and I just fell to my knees. During those dark times, the only thing that pulled me through was knowing how much I was needed. I needed to get through it, not just for me, but for people I loved and who depended on me. Was it hard? Hell yes, it was. I never said any of this was going to be easy. There's another part to it that I wanted to talk about, but that right there, I feel like, things get hard, and there's no shortage of the greatness that you have. It's everywhere. I mean, you can see it, but this part is the part that connects us to people, don't you think?
Yes.
They know they're not different than you,
Right. Yeah, because everybody goes through these trials and tribulations, and mm-hmm. Whether it be in your business, in your family, your relationships, whatever it might be, mm-hmm. we all have these. And I think the sad thing about social media, while social media is a great tool, it can also be a terrible view into people's world, because they're showing you, as we all know, the best parts of them. They're not sharing the crappy parts, the struggles, the this or that, because of pride, and or their ego, whatever it might be. So it's, I wanted to make sure that I shared that with people so they know that that is part of it. That's part of entrepreneurship, and that's part of life. No matter what, you can't escape that. There's going to be times where you think you can't go on, but again, like my parents always told me, there's nothing so bad you can't find a way out of. Yeah. And it's at those times now where this is very much so easier said than done. But when you feel that way, it's important for you to remind yourself that this is just a moment. It's not going to be a forever. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding that and comprehending that and trying to get out of your emotional brain and into your logical brain to understand that, and then start working towards basically crawling your way up from that hole that you're in, whether that be, doing something for yourself. Maybe it's you have to take a day off. Maybe it's you take a week off just to kind of get your mind right, or you get out in nature. That's a huge thing. We don't spend enough time outside. Getting outside, getting some fresh air, getting some clarity. I've told people before that I worked with, write down a pros and cons list of what's going on in your life right now. And I said, don't be, favorable to one side or the other, but really share like what is great. We oftentimes forget we have a roof over our head, right?
Yeah. Right.
People take that for granted. I know that sounds
Yep.
so silly, but you have a roof over your head, you have clean clothes to wear, you have fresh water, and we carry a $1,000 phone with us, right?
Exactly.
You are better than a majority of the world already, and it's a tough time, not a tough life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
I was curious about that. That's incredible. That's so true. And I was curious about like when you feel that, stress or overwhelm, let's say, because you do so much. And one of the things I do admire about you is that I can see that you have this attention to detail. I've seen it with the things that I purchased from your company. Oh my goodness, the way you deliver it. And I'm going to have them right here. I have them all there. I have the planner. But my point is that when you're doing all of these things, running events and running companies, like in those moments of overwhelm, like how do you manage emotionally? Because I know that you have the tactical ways to do it. And I definitely would love you to share them because but when that emotion kicks in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the bully's in, like, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about what you do emotionally. How do you emotionally manage it? How do you practically manage that?
Okay. So this may not be super popular, but okay. So there's a couple different ways that I do this. So I feel, so first there is a caveat. So I lack GABA, which is our stress hormone. I do not have that in my body. I cannot feel stress until I get complete burnout. So in the book, I talk about burnout. I've been hospitalized for stress and exhaustion before. I've had to go into hyperbaric chambers for a couple of days in a row to get oxygen back in my blood. I have to take a supplement in order to help me feel stress. I had terrible gut issues because of stress, but I don't feel it. So it's very different because that's what people say, like, oh, you're always seeming so happy. I'm like, because I don't know if I'm stressed out or not. I truly, I don't feel it. But so when I know when I'm hitting that wall of where I do actually feel stressed, I know it is very dangerous territory for me because I could be like, a crash and burn again. Yeah. So what I do is even before I feel this, I try to be, like proactive about it to where I will come in my office. I usually will just lay on the area rug and I lay down and I just focus on my breathing. So one of my business partners in our book club, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, she was telling me about box breathing. It's like where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, release it for 4 seconds, and then you do it all again. And I started implementing that and breathing from my belly because I talked to a nurse and she said, as adults, we actually learn to stop breathing from our bellies. So I'll do some deep belly breathing for usually 5 to 10 minutes. And I just try to like clear my mind almost in like, I guess you could say a meditative state. I don't meditate, but it's kind of like, I'm just trying to like flush it out. And I really think about it, what I'm doing. Let's say it's an event and there's like issues coming up that's out of my control and I'm stressed out and it's like, I'm worried and all this other stuff. I'll just lay down and be like, okay. And then I kind of work on plan B scenarios on that. Or one day I remember we had a big issue happen and I was like getting frustrated because everybody's texting me and calling me. And I had an appointment and I went in my car to get ready to leave. And I had all these calls coming in. There were fires to be put out and things like that. And I sat there, I ended up sitting there for 2 hours solving problems. And I remember I just literally just like, I had to scream in my car by myself, just like get that, like, I was just like, there was nothing I could do. And I was getting inundated with texts and calls of like everybody and running around in circles. So I know, like I said, those are not really like the belly breathing is great. The screaming in your car, maybe not good, but that's just the truth.
No, but I understand that. I have felt that because it's real.
It is. So the one thing that is huge to me, and this is also why I'm so avid with planning, is I plan everything. That is my one way to release stress and anxiety when things are not going good. I think that is the most tactical thing anybody could do, aside just from like the emotional aspect of like calming yourself down, realizing it's going to be okay, is sit down and write it out. what are the steps you need to take to make it a success or to turn it around or to make it work, even if it's like already basically down the drain and you have to try to revive something. Is I'll make a step-by-step plan and I work backwards. That's something I've always done. Is the end result is to have XYZ product released on this date. Okay, but it's going to be something else happen, like the shipping date's wrong or whatever. Okay, first thing, okay, we're moving the shipping date or the arrival date, right? Then I work backwards on how I'm going to solve this problem. And the reason I work from the end goal backwards is because then I can really validate my steps into what I need to do and how much time it will take to reverse or undo or to repair something. So writing things down, making a list, putting it in the order of which you do this. And this is something I do all the time. Like, this is how I write talks before I go speak somewhere. You'll laugh actually, because this is my women in business talk for this weekend.
Yeah.
And what I do is I write all my talking points down on just sheets of paper, things I know that I want to deliver.
Yes.
Brain dump. Then what I do is I go through and I cut them in. I don't know if people can see this or not, but I cut them into little slips with what I want them to be. And I organize my thoughts that way and the way this needs to be delivered to get the message across to reach my end goal, which is everybody leaving with some sort of tactical advice and plan of action. Because when you give a talk, standing ovations don't mean shit, right? That's not a good talk. A good talk is when you can leave people with a plan and hope and the capabilities to do it on their own. So that's how I structure everything. I start with the points and I work my way backwards and how it's going to assemble. And that is something that has drastically helped me manage my stress and anxiety, because if I manage it on the physical side, like what I'm talking about doing, that actually takes care of the emotional side as well, because I know that it's done. I don't have to remember it anymore. It's taken care of and I can start taking action.
I love that so much. I love what you do with your talks. It's incredible. That's great. I'm stealing that from you. But anyhow, it's so good. And, it's almost like it reminds me of what you're doing. It's like you're parenting yourself. Mm-hmm. It's like that, the little kid's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then you're like, okay, no, this is what we're doing. And it's like, I feel like planning is everything.
Yeah.
And, I'm
not saying that just because I have a planner company. I'm saying that from like my heart, like it really is everything.
But that's probably why you have a planner company.
It is. I've had a plan. Yeah. I've been a planner person since junior high. And I remember in high school once, I took ag mechanics class 2 years in a row, which was a 4-hour class. And we were welding, you'd build trailers and all this kind of stuff. So I built my dad hay trailers for our farm and welded.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was actually going to go to college. That was what I wanted to do in life, was be an underwater welder and move to the coast and weld ships and things like that. But the wait list was 3 years to get in because it's a very niche industry. Oh. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go. And I had a scholarship, so I needed to use it. Otherwise, I was going to lose it if I didn't go to school right after college. Yeah. And so I went for business management and horticulture. And so it just,
that's incredible. Do you find, if you look at your life and how you got where you're going, I think there's so much building that happens that is behind the scenes, that, everyone says, oh, no one's an overnight success, right? So I know that early on, when you started your brick and mortar company and that, you had struggles throughout your life. I think that when we get here, when we look back, we see how we've overcome. So we have more confidence. We know, oh, I can get through this. The more times we get through bad things, we realize we can.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What were you going to say?
No, I said I love that so much, because that is so true, because that's a confidence builder too. Because when we're in these little crap holes at the moment of life and you can't see the big picture bird's eye view of what's it going to look like 10, 20 years down the road. It's oftentimes like, this is a weird analogy. I don't have kids, but women always say like childbirth is the most painful thing ever, but then they'll have another child 18 months, 2 years later, because the thing is we forget the pain, but the result was so worth it, and that's how I just use that analogy, just because I feel like a lot of women can relate to that, is that, all those like pitfalls that I had early on in my 20s running a business, now all taught me the skills of what to do and what not to do at that moment. And through those, it did build that confidence up, because it's so easy to just like, looking back, it's like, wait, I went through all that stuff to get where I am today, to be able to persevere and push through and, have the determination that I need to make my goals happen in life, and I think we we get too stuck in the what's happening right now instead of, okay, but what kind of story is this going to be later, you know?
Yes. Yes. You know, my son crashed my car on his fourth driving test. And why am I telling you this? I have no idea. It just
That's
related to
wild.
it because it reminded me of it. I said to him, I go, Luke, he was like devastated. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, my car's ruined my truck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? All I know is that this is a great story.
Yeah.
One day, this is going to be like your laughter. You're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
enjoy this so much. And now we tell it we elaborate on it, that the limb was on it. So it's like what you're saying, like, and I think that when we're in those hard times, like if we can imagine like this right now is our like building ground, like this is a story that is going to have a successful ending if we choose it, right?
Right. That's
Yeah.
so key if you
Mm-hmm.
choose it. And that's what I tell people that I coach with one-on-one. I'm like, take pictures of you during your business time right now, because that's something I wish I would have done when I had my flower shop, of like all that kind of stuff, or something like kind of write that down to really see that journey happen. Because I love looking back on pictures that people post of like, this was our first store, or this was our this, or this is where we used to work. Like I love seeing those. So when I started my most recent company, with the paper and plan company, my sister started working for me like on day one. And I was like, we needed to document everything. Cause I said, I know one day we're going to look back on this and be like, wow, look at that. That was like, that was such a fun time. And, we started with a little bit of inventory. Then as we grow and everything else, it's just been very, very cool. And I think that that's one thing I always told people, like, document your journey, keep a little journal, even if you're only writing it once a month, talk about the good things that happen in your business that month and the bad things that happen, because you're going to want to look back on that and down the road. And that's also true in life too, like journal, like some people do it daily. I write down my gratitude. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. But other than that, I don't like journal or anything like that, unless it's like, I usually do it like every other week usually. And I have just like a little journal sitting by my chair in my office. And I'll just sit over there and write out a few things, nothing too in depth or anything like that, or long storytelling. It's just neat to look back on.
That's really so cool. I love that. I wish I had done it. I've been in business 30 years and I just was like the first 20, I was just basically like flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, because here's what happens. I feel like in entrepreneurship is that, and maybe you can, you agree with this or can speak to this. I feel like we get so busy, like working in and on the businesses, or maybe this is just me, but I forget a lot of things that happened because I'm so focused on like pushing forward and doing. I don't mean things that happen in my life, like personally, but I mean like the little business, like mess ups or the joys or the celebrations. I forget a lot of those, and I'll have like old employees that worked for me before at my first company, and they'll say things. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot we did that. That was so much fun. I forget that stuff because you're so busy pushing and pushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, it is nice to be able to look back on that and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. It's just, and I always think like, operate your business as if there's going to be a documentary on you one day of how wonderful it was. And you got to have the details to talk about that in your show.
I love that. That's probably going to happen to you.
Yeah.
I bet you that happens to you.
I don't know. I got offered a cooking show on Netflix a couple years ago.
Are you you're going to
No, I declined it because it just wasn't, it wasn't worth it to me because they wanted me to kind of act like someone I'm not.
No.
You know what I mean? Just kind of like cheesy and like just out of my comfort zone. And I was like, that's not who I am. And people that follow me would know that's not who I am. And I don't want to do I just couldn't feel comfortable doing that. But yeah, it's cool to have a documentary. It'll be just basically nothing like, oh, and then on this day she took pictures of her dog. On this day she took pictures of her dog. Like
there's so many dog pictures. I love it. I have 4 dogs.
I know. People follow me for my dogs. I'm already convinced.
I love that. Let me ask you, so like as far as in your book, I just wanted to touch base quickly because your book is about relationships first, right?
Yes.
And there's so much to it. I love it. Authenticity, all of that. How would you describe that, how relationships first has been the thing that's cast your whole life?
Yeah. It's truly treating people the way you want to be treated. Again, like I say in the book, like it's called the golden rule because it's golden for a reason, is that, as you know, because you've read the book, but it's like, I talk about that. Like when I was 14 and got my first job, because I wanted to save money to open my own business and buy my first house, I did not do it on purpose. I really didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't focused on relationship building. It was just focusing on treating people right and being nice, and doing my job to the best of my ability. So I was a waitress and I worked at a golf course and things like that. And it was treating these people how I wanted to be treated, being attentive and listening. Too oftentimes, the thing people love to talk about the most is themselves. So if you're ever in a situation, the best way to build a relationship is to ask people questions about themselves. They're going to tell you a lot, and you need to listen because that's going to tell you what's important to them and what lights them up. So at 14, I'm doing this, not realizing what's happening. At 19, I bought my house. And then at 20, I bought a building and land and opened my flower shop. So in those years from the age 14 to 20, in that 6-year time span, I had seen these people around town and such on, because you got to remember, like, social media wasn't a thing back then, and it wasn't around. And so when I was 20 and, I had my ribbon cutting for my business picture in the paper, the Chamber of Commerce, all that big hoopla things that we do. And, and I grew up in a small town. I had already built these relationships for the last 6 years of waitressing and working in all these places and meeting so many people, that I already had a customer base that I didn't even know, because they were so excited to see this little 14-year-old girl that was their waitress now has her own business and has employees. And they were like my most raving fans, because they just came in, like, even if they bought one flower that day, whenever I opened, they were there just to help support me. And I talk about that with the relationships we build now can see you through to retirement if you treat them right. Because the thing is so many people operate on a strictly transactional basis now. What can you do for me? How much money can I make from you? What, it's this want, this selfish desire and want. But the thing is that when you put relationships first, that is what's going to grow your business, because of the word of mouth, how you treat people, what you do, because then when you do that, the money comes. That's why the little subtitle on the book is People, Passion, and Profits. Yes. And that is in the order. That was on order and purpose. It's the people first, the passion is there, and then your profits come. When we treat people right and like actual human decency, like everyone should, that is what's going to get you these clients. Because I think we've all had a bad business experience where you felt like you were just a transaction, or someone was doing you wrong, or they didn't have great customer service. But what you do with this relationship building and how important it is, it will make your business a success, because they are your boots on the ground, your troops ready to talk wonderful things about your business to every single person they know. So you need to treat that right, because people are your asset in business. It's not your computers. It's not your building. It's not anything else. It's your people. Without the people in your company or in your life, they're your foundation, and you're going to crumble without them.
I love that so much, Emily. There, I think about, like, like in counseling or whatever, that like them getting better is my inheritance.
Yes.
What I mean? That's like, like, just do that, and it's incredible, because it's such it seems counterintuitive or whatever, but chasing the dollar, anything you chase runs, right? Like,
right. That's true. Yep.
So it's like, I just feel like, the things that you describe in this book about honesty, like that being your key, one of your key values.
Yeah.
And the oh shit thing. I mean, there's so many things in there, and I know we have to end our story.
No, you're good.
But if I could just quickly hear, or you could share with the audience, like, what it means to be this authentic, honest person in the difficult times, because you did that when you had your banking issue.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? It sounds silly, but I want to be successful in the most heartfelt, ethical way. I'm getting tears in my eyes. Heartfelt, ethical way that I can. I can't feel good, and I can't operate that way of a like slimy salesman type of mentality. You know what I mean? Like, I can't feel good about that, because I think we all have been in, like, very tight financial situations before in life. And I, understand that people are, shopping with me, and it's with their hard-earned dollars. And I want to make sure that I am grateful for that and gracious that they choose me. There's a million different planner companies. There's a million different leadership books you can buy, you know what I mean? Or any other products or information that I have available. There's a lot to choose from. But the fact that someone would choose me who am I to not treat that person like they are the one and only, and they are my most important, because they chose me out of everyone else. And I feel that that needs to be reciprocated in, in gratitude. And that's why I'm so big on writing thank you cards. And, I don't know if I talked about this in the book or not. I can't remember. But like on Fridays, I'll write 1 to 3 handwritten notes to customers or to people with nothing else, but just saying like, hey, I hope you're doing great. I just want to thank you again for all your support. I hope you're enjoying this. And I saw on social media you're doing this or whatever. It is never an ask. It is never anything. It's not a salesy thing. It is literally just me sharing, a little bit of gratitude with them and letting them know that I truly do see them and I appreciate them, because I just think that kind of gets lost now in this day and age with social media and like pushing sales and ads and, influencers sharing 30 different things to buy a day and things like that. It's like, no, let's work on these relationships first, build that trust, build that reputation, and then move forward from there. You're going to be way more successful and way more fulfilled in life. Like I like going to bed knowing I did good today. I didn't cheat anyone. I didn't steal from anyone. I didn't do anything bad. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that ease, and I can operate at my highest self when I am like that.
It is in the book, by the way.
Yeah.
And
I can't remember. It's like, well, I wrote the book in March 2021 and I edited it so many times. I don't remember what I took out or what I didn't.
I know. Yeah. Right.
I know that sounds crazy. Like you wrote the book. How do you not remember? Like, look,
no,
every
I
day is like a new day.
No, I get that 100%. I just wanted you to know, and it really hit me that you said that, because just, to your point, you're describing this, it's like an asset. It's something, it's wealth that comes that is very hard to describe. I feel like feeling grateful for a person is almost supernatural. It's like it does something in your body, like it makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
And sharing it feels so good, right? It's like
it's almost like a selfish act,
I think so.
Like you can feel so good about it. But then again, it's like, I know whenever I've gotten because look, as an adult, it's awesome to get something in the mail that's not a bill, right? So it's like whenever I've got like a handwritten note or a card or anything, it's like, and that's like my thing I absolutely love. Like I save all cards and letters and everything that anybody sends me. I always have. I just love it. And it's just something that I enjoy, because I always say it's putting your time on paper. Those people could have sent me a text.
Oh, I love that.
Could have sent me an email, but they took the time to put their time on paper to express some sort of gratitude or feeling towards me. They put a stamp on it. They take it to the mailbox. They mail it. Like there's more labor of love in a handwritten letter or card than anything else.
I love that. Time on paper. I'm going to, I really believe that time is love.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Because it's the one thing people cannot buy and you cannot get back no matter what. So the fact that if you give people your time, it's huge.
I don't know if you remember that. I'm sure you do remember that speaker. And then I promise I'm going to fold this thing up and put it somewhere and send a card to you. But anyhow, so the man who spoke about the Harley Davidson, the guy who turned Harley Davidson around. Yes. And how he was saying that what people really want is to feel delighted in and seen and all of that. And that's what you're describing.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like I never could figure out like, why the hell is my business so successful? I was just like, like a long time. I was like, I didn't know anything about business at all, like for 20 years. And I just ran a business, but I really loved people. And when I'd see them, I'd be like, hi, how are you? And I would get excited. And I didn't realize until probably whenever that speaker was that I was giving them dopamine hits.
Yes.
They were like addicted to me.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, that's why, because isn't that it?
It's true. Yeah, that is it. Because think about it. What I always say is like, nobody's excited to see you when you go into Target or Nordstrom, or when you get a package from Amazon. There's no feeling there. So especially, as small business owners, it's on us to really increase that feeling and deliver that, because that's the thing that makes small businesses so unique and so powerful, is that we have the control to do things that big companies can't. And we can help our customers feel a certain way or react a certain way because we genuinely care. Because it's like that meme, like every time you shop with a small business, somebody's doing a little happy dance. It's true. But the thing is, because people they become addicted to the feeling that you can provide for them because they actually care. People can smell a disingenuous person a mile away. You know what I mean? Go on to most car lots and you have the salesman like, oh, and you're already you put the walls up. You're like, I know this act, I know this song and dance, I know what you're going to do. But when you have someone that is like, makes every single person feel like someone, that is what is the recipe for success. Absolutely.
Isn't it? It really is. And you know, the way that you put this all together in your book, it doesn't feel like you're reading a book.
Yeah.
It
Thank
doesn't.
you. I
It
want it
really
to be
doesn't feel that
conversation
way.
style.
It's very conversational, but with the different lettering, and then it's just incredible how it's put together. It's
Thank
you
you.
do so many, you, from what I perceive, you do things so well. You really do. And I think that that's like your brand, almost like you do
Yeah.
things
It's
really
because I'm
well.
like OCD and like,
Is that what it is? But it's also like, I feel like you do less, but you do so much. So I can't figure that out. And I promise that's my last question. Because I know you do tons of stuff,
yes.
but then I also know that you pull back and do less, which I think is tactical and smart.
Yes. Yeah. So
Can you
it's,
just tell me how you funnel that shit? And then I'll close the
yeah,
podcast. I
no.
promise.
So, okay.
Yeah.
No. So,
Mhm.
help. I have help. I have teams.
Mm.
So, I do a lot. I run a lot of different companies, but I have teams. So it's not me individually doing all the tasks for everything every day. So, and I don't, this is also a little pet peeve. Like, people need to speak up that they have help, because I feel like so many people try to hide that and let you think that they're like Superman or something, but that's not healthy for people going forward, because they're going to try to do that and they're going to be very unhappy and burnt out. So for our home, we have a house manager. She works 3 days a week for about 5 hours a day. She helps clean. She helps the dogs.
Oh, I
She'll
need to
run,
take notes. Hold
she'll,
on.
she'll
Holy.
be, well, like run like dry cleaning and stuff. And she does so much for us. And she's just such a good friend. We've known her for a long time. So we have a house manager. She's been with us for a couple of years now. So we have her at home. So she helps me maintain the house and everything else. So that's one thing that I don't have to do on the weekends or at night. Okay. And then I have a team with our media company and with RTA. We have a team. I have a team that I work with for that. And then with paper and plan company and my own personal brand, I have a team for that. So I have those two separate teams, and I delegate and assign tasks to every person based on their strengths. Through our media company, obviously we have a large staff of designers, and then I have my executive assistant, and then I have, other team members that, do things there. And then I have my executive assistant with my own personal brand and paper and plan company that helps with all of those things. And I have a COO that's my sister, and I have a graphic designer there and everything else. So it's operating on those teams of telling them all, here's our goal. And I paint the vision for them. Here's what we're doing. This is what we need to tackle. And I tend to be an over communicator, but not to water things down. But I want everybody to be clear on our mission and our goals and I give them deadlines. I say, hey, I need you to do this and have it to them by this date, because I want it live on the website by this day. Or, hey, mock me up some graphics for this. I would like to see some designs by Friday. That way they can be tweaked and changed by Tuesday, because I want to have them ready to go to present on Wednesday. So I kind of tell them all the timelines. That way they know also, for operations on their end, how to prioritize their items to get everything done as well. Because if I just give them 5 tasks with no priority, they might start on something that's actually the lowest priority, and then it's not ready, the thing I really need to see, because they focused on the low thing instead. So it's really communicating with your team. So I have a lot of help to do all of these things, which is absolutely necessary, because I would try to be Superwoman and do it all, and it was just misery. So when you get to a point where you can do that, and this could be through contract workers, if you're just now growing your business and you maybe don't have the finances yet to actually employ someone full time, absolutely look for contract workers. And this can be for anything that you need, to fill in at the moment. And contract employees are very easy to find right now, because a lot of people are looking to increase, their income as well. So it might be something they do at night or something like that. So that's how I do it. The house manager, and I have my 2 teams, and I work to delegate out a lot of things. And I kind of just like make sure the machine is all still moving in the proper methods.
Yeah, you're like leading all of it.
Exactly. Right. We have weekly meetings with each team. Then I have weekly meetings with, for RTA, I have a weekly meeting with Ed and Andy to discuss everything there, and that I've worked with the team on and things like that to present that. So it's creating a well-oiled machine within your company of who can do what, what's their strengths, what's their weaknesses, and it's getting to know them, to know what lights them up and what maybe they don't love doing this certain job, but they like this part. Then I'll give them something they like and something they don't necessarily like at the same time. That way there's like, oh, at least I have the good thing I get to work on. So it's just, it's teams, it's having help. It's, you know what I mean? It's working with those people.
Yeah. And that's our whole other podcast about how to manage all of those people. But I'm not going to do that now, because
we can definitely do one on that with different managing different personalities.
God, hiring and that stuff. I love what you wrote in there. So I just want to thank you so much. Your wealth of knowledge is really, it's cool. It's, I felt like I could have just kept going and like, I like chum for a shark. I was like,
well, I'm glad you have to make me shut up, because I talk all day.
No, me too. But I felt like I was interrupting you, and I hate that.
I do that too. I just did it, but it's because you're excited. Like that's the thing. Is like, there's rudely interrupting people, but I feel like there's also whenever, and I disregard that, because it's like Andy and I are the same. We get passionate about things, and where we like are interrupting each other. We don't mean to, but we're just so passionate about it. We're like, can't wait to like share.
That's exactly how I feel. I was so excited when you were talking. I was like I was chewing my arm off on the inside. Yeah. So, and also, by the way, this is Andy Frisella's wonderful wife too. We didn't even discuss.
Thank you. Oh, that's all right.
All right. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to see you in like 3 days.
Yes.
And like, yes. So and you'll be getting a thank you note from me, by the way.
Hand delivered.
Yes, hand delivered. That's right. Don't worry. I'm not going to stalk your house.
So funny. Oh my gosh, you're so funny. But thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
I did too. Thank you so much, Emily. So I'm shutting us down now. It's a wrap.